think some of the biggest ways that we're going to bring in revenue and sort of the profit centers we haven't even thought of yet. We're in a race for distribution. We're in a race for clubs to be built. And as we scale with that, I think we're going to create all kind of other monetization opportunities, all kind of needs for our members and guests. We look at those types of things and how we can impact that.
So very excited for the podcast today. We have Ace Rodrigues on. Welcome, Ace.
Hey, thanks, Brad. Good to be here.
So Ace is the founder and CEO of Pickleball Kingdom. And this is actually one I've been looking forward to for a long time. Ace has been a little bit of a mentor for me. We've met, and kind of shared some insight about what you're doing. And I'm like, Ace, we need to get you on the podcast just because I think very few people in business get to the point where they understand systems and company culture and hiring. But then when they look at franchising or scaling, I don't think I've really had a guest on speaking about the franchise element. So we all know pickleball's taken off. Ace, how did this come up for you to come in? You come into this arena to see this sport, having legs, taken off, to say, you know what, I think there's a business opportunity here for me.
Yeah, love it. I wish, Brad, somehow, some way we recorded some of our just casual personal conversations. Have been really entertaining covering a lot of this. Well, I wasn't looking for anything. And like most people who play pickleball, I had some buddies who got into it. The thing that was crazy was these aren't necessarily athletes the way probably you and I think of athletes. And how are they doing this pseudo athletic thing and all of a sudden doing it 4 or 5 times a week? I'm thinking, these guys don't do anything 5 times a week. And they invited me, and thank goodness, one day I came, because my hesitation was the first question I asked, what's a pickleball? I saw some pictures playing tennis ball, and they said, no, it's a pickleball. I said, I know, but what's a pickleball? They said, well, it's a type of wiffle ball. And I said, dude, I'm out. I'm a real athlete. I play real sports. This sounds backyardish, picnicky. Taught my son how to hit a plastic bat and a wiffle ball when he was 5. I played football in college. Not interested. Thank goodness they kept inviting me. Showed up one day, Brad, true story, 5 minutes into it, I raised my paddle and said, this is the greatest sport ever. Fun, trash talking, running around, playing. And I just became a super spreader. I would get 15 to 20 guys to show up, whiteboard, little round robin, portable speaker, just to have fun. No plan, no anything. And the 4th time I did it, January 9th, 2021, I'm standing on a park, Arrowhead Park, 2 tennis courts. They got converted to 6 pickleball courts. And movie moment. If you can kind of picture this, Brad, in slow motion, I'm leaning on the fence in one of the middle courts. I look to my left. 2 of the guys that came for me are brothers. They have 6 sons between them, no girls. What a family get together those are, right? And so I'm looking at these boys, 6 to 14 playing, great time. Far court over there, 5 women doing a rotational thing, great time. 3 couples doing their thing, great time. Family and their 4 kids, great time. These 2 courts, my guys, 20 to 50 something, great time. And I said, there's something going on. Nothing is this universal, right? Not even ice cream, because there's a lot of people who don't like ice cream. And I'm a huge ice cream fan. And so every ethnicity, every age, every body type, and I knew now the fun and the value of pickleball. But now I knew the downsides. You couldn't reserve a court. It's hot. It's cold. Courts are filthy. They never get cleaned until it rains. And the wind. I never thought of Arizona as windy until I started playing pickleball. Where did these gale force winds come from? Because it doesn't take much to move a wiffle ball. So now you get that perfect shot down the line, that much of a gust, 3 inches out of bounds. So I just made a comment to guys. I said, man, this would be better indoors. Brad, there's 10,000 people that made that statement and had that idea before I did. The big idea wasn't the idea. The big idea was the execution of the idea. How do you put it together? How do you make it work? And so The genesis came in January 9th, 2021. I feel like God threw this lightning bolt of an idea into my mind that landed in my heart. And that fire has been burning ever since.
I love that you share that, because what's unique about this business opportunity, a lot of us, and you touched on this, Ace, is that pickleball, my mom plays, right? My mom's pushing 67, right? I have siblings that play, I have nephews that play. So all different ages can play. You can be very competitive. And as you look at something, okay, there's an opportunity here. And you mentioned that, okay, how do you execute? Walk through that first business model, because eventually in this conversation, we'll get to, the franchise element and what you've done, and, how you've taken this sport and how it's exploded for you personally. But how do you create a business model now? You see the popularity, you see the opportunity, but now, yeah, there's cost to build a facility, right? There's cost to maintain it and run it. And can you get it booked out all the time, and you have to operate it? There's so many different elements there. And I don't know if you had experience running a company of that size at that point.
Yeah, great questions. I hear several layers to that question. First and foremost, let me take the last one off the table. I've owned businesses since I was 21. I have never owned a business like this, and nothing in the athletic space. So completely new. With that, I would say an athlete has a much better chance of doing well in any new sport. If you understand business, business is business to some degree. You can take those lessons, take those truths, and make something else succeed. So when I first started penciling this out, I always like to start with the big picture. And I'm going to assume, Brad, the majority of your listeners are business people, and they're always mapping things out. And
Yep.
what I'm about to say now isn't new, and it's probably not even fresh, but start with the big. Okay, what's the end result? What does that look like? And then you sort of reverse engineer it back. So I'm going to need a big space because I got to put courts. Okay, roughly how much space? And started calculating. And I thought, man, 20,000 would be great. And we start putting down, I started just drawing out courts and looking at some floor plans. And Brad, I quickly saw 20,000 wasn't going to be enough. 30,000 is barely enough. So our first facility is 38,000. And that's sort of the average in our system now. And I'm going to tell you, the water gets deep quickly.
Yeah.
Anything times 30,000 or 38,000 becomes
Right.
a gigantic number. And that's just your space, nothing else in it. And so I just started thinking, okay, let me solve the problems I had. I couldn't reserve a court. How do I reserve courts? So I started thinking, should it be an hour, 2 hours? Most people play for 2 hours. But you got to then take a business idea, and if it's something new, you have to look at what are the variables and what's new or different about this. What's new and different about this is it's your court. Public courts, sort of the honor system, you're supposed to play one game and rotate off and let someone else come on. So people say, I play for 2 or 3 hours. Actual court time is maybe 45 minutes. And that's spread out, right? You push the air out of it. 1 hour of uninterrupted play will feel like about 2 hours. So I thought, okay, we're going to start with that. How do I do it? As big as our place is in Chandler, it's only 15 courts. So it's a finite number. How do I get people to be able to play and not get frustrated and have more? Do I assign 4 reservations that you can have 8? And I started playing with those. And I said, that doesn't make sense. And, Tracy and I, we love nice restaurants, like good food. I can't stand going places and, excuse me, can I get some more sour cream? Sure, sir, that's going to be 75 cents more. Like, stop nickel and diming me. Charge me a little more and just bring me what I want. And I thought, I don't want to do that and have you pay a membership and then you pay court fees every time you step on the court on top the membership. So again, start with the end in mind. The first thing I started with, Brad, was I need the word unlimited, unlimited reservations. I want that, but holy smokes, unlimited reservations. So Brad gets on and makes 100 reservations for the week and destroys the calendar. How do you prevent that? I'm old enough to remember Netflix when it came out. Not today, the streaming service. Netflix, the DVD company that would
Mm-hmm.
send you a movie via mail. And I remember hearing about that for the first time. They said unlimited rentals. So same concept. I said, wait a minute. I could say I want to watch 1,000 movies. Are they going to send me 1,000? When you understood it, it was unlimited at the speed of one DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Watch it. It comes to you. You send it back as soon as it hits. Your next one in queue comes. So unlimited in the turnover, but at the speed of one. I said, there's my answer. Unlimited reservations at the speed of one open reservation. So, Brad, you have a reservation at 4 o'clock. That's yours. Once that reservation comes, you can make another one for 5 o'clock if there's an available court, or you
Hmm.
can make one for later tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever it is. But if you have a reservation at 4, you can't make one for next Friday. You either have to cancel that reservation or wait till it expires. So it is unlimited, but at the speed of one. And then now we have some enhanced memberships. You can have more for a premium. But it was with that concept of how do I solve those problems? And then what else do people want when they play? They want refreshments. So,
Mm-hmm.
food and beverage now, there's sort of a path that people can take. It's called entertainments, a Top Golf, if you will. There's a place for Top Golf, clearly. But I think you and I talked about this. If we had a free afternoon and you're like, Ace, let's get together. Yeah, great, Brad, let's hang. You say, hey, let's go meet at Top Golf. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, Brad, if you want to go golfing, let's go golfing. You want to go to a sports bar, let's go to a sports bar. I don't want to do that. They're trying to be both,
Mm-hmm.
either, in my opinion. Choose your lane and be excellent. So we have light refreshment items, some snacky food just to kind of take the edge off, but we're not making, plates of chicken or pasta. And really, if you're running
Right.
around, do you really want to eat that before or after? Probably
Right.
not, you know?
Right. It's really smart, Ace. I mean, as you think about that, essentially what you're doing as we break this down is like any business, right? You're coming in to a space, you see the popularity, you see the opportunity that's there, and you're realizing there's some pain points, right? These are the pain points I'm dealing with. Could be wind, could be weather, could be cleanliness, could be, reservation and finding court time, right? And so the whole point is identifying these pain points before you start your business is going to allow you a step up as you open the facility and start running it. But there's also an element of operations, right? You have to operate it and have staff and maintain it. You have to have marketing strategy. How do you get people to sign up? How did you bridge, some of those early on, just potential bottlenecks of like, do we have enough people? Can we make revenue? Can we fill the space?
At the end of the day, Brad, I believe all business to some degree has an element of a leap of faith. You can plan, you can sharpen that pencil, but then it's a matter of taking a step. Spreadsheets can only go so far. So I'll tell you, for operations in terms of staffing, we've gone up and down on that. I was overstaffed at first, scaled that back. Oh, crap, we're kind of understaffed now during times. And you just got to sort of dial that in. So you make a best guess and you move forward. It's interesting. You mentioned marketing. Now I have a whole marketing department now, so I don't personally actively do marketing. And I don't consider myself a marketer by sort of skill set and trade. But I will tell you about an idea I came up with early on, because if some of your listeners are listening and they're in a unique business, or they're thinking of something that either doesn't exist or is not prevalent, how do I get people to know or try it? This idea occurred to me. Tracy and I have been in Costco 100 times over the last couple of years. I'm pushing a cart. I passed that table with Dixie cups on it. You know what I'm talking about? The
Mhm.
samples. I'm grabbing a cup. Brad, I don't know what's in it. I don't care. I drink it or eat it. Sometimes I say, babe, hold on. I go back and I grab the box. Because they gave me a little bit for free, I'm buying a 48 pack. I would have never even looked at the box, wouldn't even caught my attention. But they gave me a little bit for free. So that's embedded in my mind. So I'm moving forward to open the Chandler Club, and I'm thinking, I got the best product. How do I give a little away for free? Give someone an hour of court time. Again, that's going to destroy my calendar. What else can I do? Thought about this. And this is where I think your listeners can think about their businesses. What's the pain point of someone who either wants to buy their product or service? What are sort of those stumbling blocks? So here's what I'll say. I'll use you, Brad. So Brad doesn't play pickleball right now. You have three barriers to entry. Number one, where do you go?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, what do you need? And number three, who's going to teach you? So where do you go? You're like, hey, there's this public court by my house, and okay, you're going to go there. What do you need? I see them using these giant ping pong paddle looking things. You go on Amazon, you buy some. You don't know if you're getting ripped off or not, but oh well. Now you show up to the court, bunch of guys playing, and you say, hey, can I jump in? Maybe they'll let you, maybe they won't. But even if they let you, can you imagine? Hey, how do you keep score? What are the
Yeah.
rules? They're gonna be like, dude, please don't waste our time. We only have an hour before we got to go tuck our kids in. Why don't you go back to your car? They have no vested interest to do that. And I thought, I can eliminate those three barriers. Where do you go? Pickleball Kingdom. What do you need? Nothing. We're going to give you we're going to let you use everything for free. Just have 10 issues and sign our waiver. Who's going to teach you? A professional coach. Brad, I had sleepless nights before we launched because I thought, I'm doing this. I committed twice a day, 5 days a week, 3 times a day on the weekends. And I'm like, oh man, am I laying an egg here? Because not only can I not monetize the courts while I'm doing this, I'm going backwards because I'm paying a coach and putting wear and tear on our equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, might be the best thing I've done. Our conversion rate is insane between people saying, how do you hold this racket? And the coach saying, well, it's a paddle. There's no string. Rackets have string. Hold it this way, to an hour later, them pointing on the wall and saying, I want to buy that membership. So concept there in terms of marketing, if you truly believe in what you have, is there a way to give just a taste, just a little bit away for free? That's helped us tremendously.
It's such great advice because as you think about that, essentially you're trying to find whatever that avenue is to get them in. You know the barriers to entry. Again, this kind of goes back to identifying the pain points when you're looking at, and the reality is, as you start building a product, right? As you build it, they will come in a way. Because like I know you and I talked about this offline. That look, I'm a big basketball guy. You were a big basketball guy. You played sports your whole life, football and basketball, super athlete. We go to Lifetime. You and I run to each other at Lifetime all the time. And they've taken the basketball courts and they're all pickleball courts. And yeah, it's great, for people to have membership. But regardless, if you're really into pickleball, like I'm sure you would say, Ace being an expert, you're like, that's not the greatest facility. Like, why not? You're catering, like you said, not for the leisure top golf that's just going to come in and whatever. You're catering to a specific group. And by training them and teaching them, you're giving them an avenue to come in to be successful and stay with it, which means you have a customer for life, essentially.
Yeah. And Brad, you invited me here today, so I'm just speaking kind of from my heart and my mind to your listeners. This is going to be contrary to what a lot of them do or think, because diversification, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I've had businesses that did that too. So I'm not saying this is the holy grail and the one and only answer, but I am a believer that, all the cliches, there's riches and niches, choose a lane and try to be world class. You hit it on the head. You and I see each other quite a bit at Lifetime, and I enjoy Lifetime, and I'll see people and I'm walking with my Pickleball Kingdom shirt and they're like, oh, are you here to play pickleball? I wouldn't stoop to that level. I'm here to lift weights, go on the elliptical, go in the sauna until our house is being built that this great company is building. And then I'm going to have my own little gym in there. But they're trying to be everything to everyone, right? And to some degree it works. Yoga classes, basketball, and all this. But their pickleball, the indoor pickleball, they have 3 courts on one former basketball court. There's no fence, very little space between courts. I can't even imagine playing where every 15 seconds, ball, stop, so you don't step on a ball and break your neck. that's just no fun. It's like, man, we're advancing to the net, to try to score, and now we got to start that point all over. So I here's another example. A golf simulator company, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, came to me and they said, Ace, we want to offer you this incredible deal. We've never offered this before. We want to put a simulator or two in your place, no cost to you up front. And I can't remember the number. Let's call it 200,000. We guarantee you 200,000 in revenue for the year. And I said, I appreciate it, guys. No thanks. And they said, wow, Ace, we didn't really explain what we mean. When we say guarantee, you will bring in 200 grand or we're writing a check for the difference. So 200,000 will come in. I said, yeah, I actually assumed that. My answer is still no. And the guy said, can I just ask personally, how could you walk away from that? Brad, my answer was very easy, very simple. I said, that's not who we are, and that's not what we do. The moment I have a golf simulator, I'm no longer a pickleball facility. I'm an entertainment place. I'm a main event, Amazing James, one of these places. That's not the lane I want to be. I want to be a world-class pickleball facility. So that's some advice that I would just float out there for whoever needs to grab it, that maybe you're frustrated because you're traveling 3 different routes. Maybe you should choose the best one and go all in on that one.
What's interesting about that, Ace, where I completely agree is, I mean, you said riches and niches. I've never heard that. I tend to get a guess. I always say something that'll stick with me for a long time. So I'm always going to have to remember that. But early in my career, I saw the same thing. I was trying to be everything, right? I was trying to do so many different aspects and some of them we're just not good at. We're not built for. Exactly. Right. And when you realize what you're good at, what your operation, and if you go towards that, and the best example, near us is In-N-Out, right? So In-N-Out, they're not putting guac on their burger. They're not putting bacon. Right. They're not doing chicken sandwiches. It's like, here's our model, ABC, right? Like there's really not much to it, and they're extremely successful. And what you've done is you identify, you know what you are and you know what you're not. And you're advertising to what you are. Not only do you understand what you are, but you're finding, instead of a golf simulator to bring people in, you're bringing a physical trainer or a trainer that's going to teach them how to play. You can have equipment there. You can have these things that facilitate them, to really flow into your business model and stay.
Yeah. I think one of the absolute best examples in American business is Chick-fil-A, right? And they've just been laser focused on chicken. I've never read this or heard this, but I would bet anything that this is true. They've had more than one franchisee contact, Truett Cathy, who is the founder, or the son now who runs the company, and say, hey, if you guys let us sell a hamburger and a cheeseburger, we know chicken's our thing, but if we could just offer 1 or 2 burgers, we could make 300,000, 400,000 a year more. And the answer is no. Mm-hmm. I can show you the spreadsheet for sure it's going to work. No, we believe you, but it's not who we are. It's not what we do. We're going to be the best at chicken. And I think that's the right decision. They proved it.
Now from your side, Ace, okay, you have your facility in Chandler, you see it, booked out, you see the success, you see this as a great opportunity. A lot of people would be like, okay, you've tried this model, and why don't we open facility number 2, maybe in town or maybe somewhere else. But when I met, as we've been talking about this, you're like, Brad, we're about to open like 400. I'm like, so you take this and I'm sitting here in my mind thinking, okay, like venture capitalist money, like, how are you doing this? And you're like, no, this is like a franchise model, and you have this incredible business model for someone. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you have an experience building a franchise before, but there's a lot of layers and structure now and really what this comes down to is the most successful people I find in business understand systems, processes. They understand their business and they know how to run it. And it's one thing to take that and maybe people turn that into consulting, or they turn that into, other avenues, but you're actually turning it into legitimate business opportunities for people around the country now to open up these facilities. Where did that vision come to say, okay, I think we have something here, let's go franchise this?
Yeah. I love that. You what I hear you saying is, Ace, talk about your favorite flavor of ice cream. So I can go all day. I'll tell you this. When that epiphany moment I talked about, January 9th, 2021, again, just downloaded all this information instantly. I believe from God. I just believe it's a blessing. And part of that was I immediately stood there and said, this is a franchise play. This, if the brand is built right, you build the SOPs in the system, not only can we become the dominant domestic brand, there's no reason this doesn't translate throughout the world. Case in point, my globe, well, I'm pointing the wrong way, my globe right here on my desk. So when you're talking about systems and processes, I'll say this. Yes, I think that's by and large true, not exclusively. Here's what I will say. People look for opportunities, and that's fine. My daughter, or our daughter, I should say, Tracy and I, her name is Paige. When she graduated from high school, I was very honored to be asked to do the commencement address at their ceremony. And I had a very different topic that people weren't expecting, because what's the cliche at graduation? Follow your dream, follow your passion, right? I mean, that's what you expected. Brad, I started my talk with, you're going to hear people say, follow your dream, follow your passion. And I'm here to say that's bad advice. that gets the crowd to listen.
That gets their attention. Yeah, that gets their attention quickly.
Whoa, what's going on? Who invited this guy? And I went on to explain, I said, look, you can be truly passionate about something you're no good at. That's called a hobby. Don't try to make that your life's work. I haven't watched American Idol in 10 years or more, but when I did, it frustrated me every time someone's getting kicked off. You don't understand how bad I want it. I love it so much. What does that matter? You're not good. And so,
I'm dying.
So I point to them, and I'll share that with all your listeners, Brad. You know me. You know I'm a very passionate guy. I'm very emotional. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that shouldn't be the first step. First step, first question, what am I good at? Start with strengths. So picture you put all your strengths on the table. Now you start looking for commonality. Can I combine things? And then how can I monetize things? Then when you're left with a couple of things that you could see a business path forward, then bring emotion and passion. Which one do I love the most? Now you got something you can build a business or career out of. Start with strengths, not with passion.
Oh, it's incredible advice. And the thing is, sometimes you just need someone to tell you that can start you from a young age, right?
Exactly.
So you see your strength, of course, and of course it's in the operation. Logistically, though, what does that take from counterparts that are going to help sell the franchise, create the structure? There's a lot of legal aspects to this, right? Documentation, and what does that fee structure look like? And how do you help them? I mean, with any franchise, it's one thing to create the template of, here's how you run the business, here's how you hire, but you also have to find a location. There's TIs involved, there's construction costs. How does that work in to a profitable model? So you're working through all these different elements to consult the end user or end franchisee. How does that game plan come into place?
Yeah. How to eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So I do want to make one quick correction, Brad. You said your strength, operations. I wouldn't say that's my strength. I brute forced it. I'm organized and I can just make that happen. That's not where my natural strengths and talents are. For me, in one word, it's drive. And secondly, it's vision. That's where I want to exist for most of my time. So everything else can be hired away. So when I opened our Chandler Club over 3 years ago, I was the acting GM. Not an area of strength, but I just willed it to happen, and more so I couldn't. My wife kept saying, why don't you hire someone? I'm like, babe, we're making it up as we go. I don't know what to tell them. I need to be there to be tasting the soup to add more salt and paprika. So I did that because I knew from day one we're going to franchise. We documented everything. So we now have this thing called Keys to the Kingdom. It's the entire roadmap, everything you need. Last I checked, I think it's 180 pages long, but it's everything you need to run a successful Pickleball Kingdom. And we do a 1-week intensive here at our clubhouse to get people trained and launch them before they open their clubs. So you start looking at things. When we first opened, I was the marketing department. What kind of background I have in marketing? Zero.
Yeah.
I'm old enough that I spent all my formative years without a cell phone and without social media. So just not, my kids are different, your kids are different. They grew up with it. So as soon as I could, hired someone who was better at that than me. Then after a year, I felt like I got to take a year to perfect the model. And Brad, I made all kinds of mistakes, but it was on my dime. That's the
Mhm.
education. Now we got it dialed in. Now it's sellable. Then we started franchising. I knew I needed an expert in the franchising world. My dad had a franchise when I was young, so I knew what the word royalty was before I was out
Mhm.
of high school. But that doesn't make you qualified to run a franchise system. I understand business. I understand scaling. I needed someone who could define the path and the road ahead of me before we got there. So, you vet people, you interview. Right before we launched our franchise business, I put out a posting for a COO. I said, bold letters at the very top, must be or have been a COO. I didn't want just some GM of a small store to say,
Right.
your COO. And there were still a few of those, but I would say the high majority, over 230 applicants, high
Hmm.
majority were top notch people, 5 rounds of interviews, and best hire I've ever made, Rob Street. Veteran, tons of experience in the franchise world. He was our former Governor Ducey's right hand man with Cold Stone, helped take them from a couple of ice cream shops to 1,200. He worked directly with Howard Schultz way back when in Starbucks. So he's been through the wars, and he saw this. He said, Ace, I've done some big things. I've been a part of Rockets. Pickleball Kingdom will define my career.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Through our collective efforts, I told our franchise attorney, I now have 6 attorneys, for different lanes because we
Mhm.
just live in contracts and agreements. And I told him, hey, we're ready to launch. And he said, oh, so yeah, when you get one, let me know, just sort of that type of thing. And it sounded like, hey, when you get something 3, 4, 6 months from now. And I told him, I said, yeah, I think we'll get at least 40 franchises our first year. He's like, Ace, I love your big thinking, dude. I love your, but it's kind of like, hey, Sonny, pat someone on the,
Yeah.
I've been in the franchise world for 30 years. I feel like I need to manage expectations. That's just not going to happen. You know, Yogurt shops that are 600 square feet don't do that. This is gigantic. This is expensive because it's big, and it's your first year. So
Mhm.
that's why he's an attorney and I'm an entrepreneur. We got 300 our first year.
You got how many?
300.
That's wild.
And
300.
yeah, we're now pushing up on that, getting close to that 400 mark. We're getting close to inking some international deals. So all of that is domestic.
See, but the thing is, Ace, I guess, one, you definitely have to have an integrator and a visionary, right? That what makes you successful. And so you are, even though there's been times in your career, which you alluded to, that you had to wear those hats, probably of the integration or general manager, you realize where your strength is and you want to get to the visionary part, which you're really good at. And you bring someone in that's good at the integrator, aspect of it. But even with that being said, there has, this momentum's incredible to get to 300 in your first year when he thought 40 was out of reach. But regardless, those are from all over the country. How are you making connections? How are people finding you? Even if you're hiring someone in-house to do your marketing and social media, these connections are being made. Was there phone calls you made? Was it people you came in touch with your career? Kind of what helped you, in your opinion, get to such an incredible goal so fast?
Yeah. Every situation is unique. Every situation is different. So I'm sure a lot of people in your audience listening to this, there's like, I don't think that's possible in what I do. And to some degree, they might be right. So I acknowledge God blessed me not just with the idea, but at the perfect time. There was sort of this tsunami swelling that most people didn't think or didn't see. They just thought it was a ripple. And I was able to get a surfboard and get in front of that wave. So some of that I have to acquiesce to the sense that there was that groundswell. Pickleball was just really starting to take off and that type of thing. With that being said, there were a ton of people trying to do exactly what I did, and the high majority have already failed. So just because you're at the right place at the right time doesn't mean you take it into the end zone. So I think it's that culmination of preparation meets opportunity, and keep coming back to know your strengths and then hire away what you're not good at as soon as you can. I wore every single hat in the company for a while until I could bring someone else who can handle that better so I can move closer to my strengths.
So, and one thing I want to touch on that I think is really valuable too. I mean, going back to the visionary where you're very talented, Ace, is okay. You can see the operation, or you can see the opportunity with pickleball. You create your own facility, very successful. You figure out how to franchise it. Pushing to 400 now franchisees around the country. But there's another element to this. You mentioned that social media is a different generation. However, with that said, I think you and I talked about this. There was I remember 2005, The Contender or something. There was like a boxing reality show. You've come up with your own pickleball reality show. Walk through kind of the basis and premise of that show. You filmed it, how people can, find that, and really how that's just another layer of marketing and advertisement, and call it cultural buy-in into the product and brand that you're already pushing.
Yeah. For probably the 10th time, big believer in strengths. I always caution people, some guys I mentor, left unchecked, your strength can absolutely become your weakness. And so I've never seen a risk that I wasn't comfortable with, never saw sort of the dark door that I wasn't willing to enter. With that, I've, failed at things before. Things weren't good, those types of things. So what I want to tell your audience, Brad, is just because something has never been done, don't think you can't do it. But also acknowledge if it's never been done, maybe people have thought or tried this and it doesn't work. So kind of proceed with caution, and but don't let that be a disclaimer. Someone's got to break the 4-minute mile. So I love listening to podcasts. I listen to podcasts anytime I'm literally not actively doing something. When you see me at Lifetime, I've always got my headset on. I got a shower speaker at home, so I can continue to listen to a podcast while I'm taking a shower. So about 2 years ago, literally taking a shower, I was washing my hair at the time. I'm listening to a founder interview with a lady, I can't remember her name, started a cosmetics company. Now, Brad, how much do you think I care about cosmetics?
Probably zero.
Actually, yeah, whatever's less than zero, that's my level of interest. But she's a founder. I'm listening to her story.
Mm-hmm.
She said something. It was basically, I wrote this book on sort of this off topic that kind of got me some notoriety and made me an expert in this, which then spilled over back into her business. And so I'm listening to that, and I'm kind of nodding my head. I'm like, yeah, that's like the Ultimate Fighter that Dana White did for the UFC.
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know the story, it's a fantastic story. Dana White met the Fertitta brothers. He was a trainer. He trained them. The Fertitta brothers in Las Vegas, their parents started casinos. And so they're a billionaire family, crazy money. And so he found the UFC, and it was literally going out of business. So they bought it for $2 million. And then they built it up, started getting some traction. And then our former senator here, McCain, passed away, John McCain, he called it human cockfighting. In about half the states, they had outlawed it. They banned it. You couldn't even do it. So Dana White went to the Fertitta brothers and said, guys, here's where we're at. The trajectory we're on, 6 months to a year, we're done. We're out of business, out of money. At that point, the Fertitta brothers had put in about 40 million in total. Pretty big chunk of change. And he said, it's all the money's going to be gone. Or if we can throw one more Hail Mary, I got this idea for a TV show. Think of the American Idol for UFC fighting, bring in fighters, weight class, they compete. One guy's left, we give him a UFC contract. So it's going to cost $4 million. So they didn't want to spend any more money, but they're like, well, we do nothing, we lose it all. Why don't we just put a little more in? So they did. That was the Ultimate Fighter, blew up the show. My wife and I are from Hawaii. I think at 4 years old, I did Aikido. First thing I ever did. So martial arts, has been around me. So I knew about the UFC before it was popular.
Mm-hmm.
I think 80% of guys who follow the UFC got introduced to it by the Ultimate Fighter show. So it was just a huge thing that they did. And today, if I had to pick, if I could own any sports league, of course it'd be the NFL first. If I had a second choice, I would pick the UFC. They're that big now. So I share that to say, I'm thinking about all of this. I hear this story about this cosmetics founder, and I think, yeah, that's like what Dana White did with the Ultimate Fighter. Someone should do that for pickleball. Brad, 2 seconds later, the little voice in my head said, hey, dummy, that someone is you. You need to do that. And so I'm literally standing in the shower. What I do a lot, I what if things. Okay, what if I did it? What would that look like? How would I do that? What would it take? And by the time I stepped out of the shower, I had kind of an outline. All right, we can, just like the Ultimate Fighter, pick players. They come in, they compete. We give a pro contract to. Okay, that's the rough outline. But I was like, man, yeah, that's good. But I love the voting aspect of shows that you can vote for someone, because that gets people emotional. There's buy-in. Now the contestants want people to watch, to vote for them and those kind of things. But I thought, I can't have you vote for the players, just like you couldn't vote for UFC fighters. Whoever won, if you knock the guy out, you win. The guy who got knocked out can't win. So how are we going to vote? All right. What if we gave away 2 franchises? So people vote for who gets that. So you got these reality competition shows that are pure competition to win, the Ultimate Fighter, or purely subjective with voting, like American Idol, right? The audience just keeps voting. I believe we're going to be the only show, Brad, that we have literally both. We're making 4 dreams come true, 2 men, 2 women. We're going to have a man and a woman that we're going to sponsor for a year on the pro tour. Just like in golf and tennis, there's so many people that can play pickleball at a professional level. They just can't afford to. They can't travel, entry fees, rentals, all that stuff. We're going to sponsor them for a year. Secondly, there's a lot of people, Brad, like me, they want their sport to be the business of pickleball. So audience is going to vote, 1 man, 1 woman. Could be the same people, probably going to be different, but we're going to give 2 franchises too. We've already shot the show. We captured lightning in a bottle. It's going to be incredible. We're in literally the final stages of editing. I just had a long meeting this morning about it, so it should be out before the end of the year.
Well, kudos to you. I mean, one thing I'll say is I was fortunate to see a trailer that you showed me. I mean, it's very captivating, and it's, something people can get behind just because, there's that human element, right? Which is so important in business, reality shows. I mean, it's that connector.
No doubt. If I could just throw a quick plug in, it's called Pickleball Paddle Battle. And we got a website. All our social media handles will be going live here real soon. But we'll be putting a huge social media blitz when we're getting really ready to roll out. And we're considering a couple of different paths of distribution. But be looking for that coming out.
So, as CEO founder, especially as the business has exploded to this point, Ace, I mean, you have a family, you often hear work-life balance. Does that really exist? Who knows? I mean, I think there's different cups you have to fill at different aspects of life. But now as a CEO, how do you divide time between being a visionary, between growth, operations, company culture, being pulled in a lot of directions? How do you stay on track?
Yeah, it's like children, right? When you have kids, and if the audience doesn't know, you have, I think, 27 children. So things shift, right? You have a baby. Well, the baby gets all your attention. Then the baby turns 2 or 3. You have another baby. You don't ignore your 3-year-old, but it's kind of mission critical to take care of that infant. And then now they're all toddlers and above. Now you're kind of mixing and matching time and attention, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a lot of that. You got to look at what's important and what's critical. If you're always living in what's critical, it's going to be hard to get ahead because it's always putting out fires. You want to be able to take a breath when you can, vision cast out. Where do I need to be? What can I do proactively to make that a reality that I can make happen now? So I would say those are the things. I think that kid example, I've never said that before, but I think that's a pretty good example because most people have children and they know at certain times, different children need more attention. And one of your kids, especially if it's a girl, which we had a daughter who's now an adult and married, but someone comes home with a broken heart. Well, you kind of put things aside and you're sitting there holding her hand, And so again, different things happen at different times. So you take care of it and then you move forward.
Yeah, such good advice. Compartmentalize that and understand, those flows of life. What do as you think 5 to 10 years from now, you often hear this question, how do you see the business evolve in Pickleball Kingdom, across the country and just, your business model?
The thing that gives me so much comfort is at the end of the day, what we do, we create community. Yeah, we sell fun, we sell exercise, but it's people having their tribe, having a place to play, friends, and all of those things. But a gigantic part of that is working out. So I do think everyone does need to be hypersensitive to AI and what AI is doing, but more so what AI will do. So as your business owners listen to that, we all know the stories about you could have had the best horse and buggy business on the planet, but once automobiles came out, that didn't matter. Your business was obsolete, almost overnight. So you don't want to get caught with that. So first of all, look at AI and is that going to affect you? In my case, we integrate AI with some of our technology and then with our video capture system, but it's not going to replace the core of what we do, building personal relationships and actually getting a physical workout. So with that said, I always tell my team and I tell our franchisees, I think some of the biggest ways that we're going to bring in revenue and sort of the profit centers we haven't even thought of yet. Because we're in a race for distribution, we're in a race for clubs to be built. And as we scale with that, I think we're going to create all kind of other monetization opportunities, all kind of needs for our members and guests to have that we're going to fulfill those needs. So we look at those types of things and how we can impact that, just like this show. It wasn't to the point of getting into entertainment. When I started thinking that through and I started looking at the costs, which was a big check, to get that started. But my thought was there's not a single thing I can do from a marketing standpoint that if we do this right would have a bigger bang for the buck. So you want to kind of look at that, what can you do? How can you move resources around? How can you move talent around to impact your business? And then always be open to what the changing winds are. Have your core fundamental strength, but look at what's happening and can we adjust? Should we change? Should we get defensive a little bit because this is happening, regulation, whatever it might be? Or do we need to triple down on this direction?
As I look back, it's great advice, especially as you really understand your model and what you're trying to achieve. As you look back with the idea you had, was it maybe your wife, people in your circle, like, wait, what, Ace? This is your idea? Like, are you crazy? Are you sure you want to take out, our nest egg, if you will, and go pursue this opportunity? I'd imagine there had to have been some sort of resistance, or maybe just you internally battling that.
Brad, as long as you promise you're not going to forward this link to Tracy. My wife and I have a good laugh over that. And she says, thank God, babe, you didn't listen to me. Because when I talked to her about it, she said, not no, but heck no. We don't need to do anything. We're right about to become empty nesters. Our youngest was our daughter who's about to go away to school. So it's sort of like not the golden years, but you start to have fun, go eat out, go to restaurants more and take it easy more. And I'm saying, not only do I want to start a business, I want to start a business in an industry that kind of doesn't exist, that there's no roadmap, no proof of concept, and no guarantee. And by the way, we have to sign personal guarantees all along the way. So, Brad, a testament to our marriage is we still been married for 33 years, but it was some interesting conversations.
I love that you're open enough to share that because I think, the funny thing about that story is it's true. You're at a point in life where it's easy to, call it coast in, right? Empty nester. You've had a successful career, but the thing is, what I really appreciate about entrepreneurs such as yourself, Ace, is yeah, you have the vision, you're taking a chance in something that hasn't been tested. But you look now, I mean, just at what that does from job creation.
Yeah.
All the employees that are with you, now these franchisees, maybe there's, you know, couples throughout the country that are starting this franchise and now have a livelihood for their family. I mean, when you think about impact you're making on people, has that ever played a role? Maybe not initially because, we're here now, but as you kind of sit back and think about this success of Pickleball Kingdom to, that legacy of people that have careers and financial gain and supporting families. I mean, I find such value in that for entrepreneurs that are willing to take that risk.
It's a driver of mine. I mean, the name itself, Pickleball Kingdom, came through prayer. I'm always trying to move Jesus's kingdom forward. But you kind of alluded to a part of that equation, Brad. When you look at the number of franchisees we have, you look at the amount of employees every franchisee will have in their facility. We got 2 members of our Chandler Club that have lost over 100 pounds.
That's amazing.
That's a human being off your body.
Yeah. You go to Lifetime and lift 100 pounds.
Yeah. So to be blunt, and they're not there anymore, but they were both morbidly obese, probably a really bad couple of days away from a heart attack. So it saved their life, literally. So members, guests. But then, Brad, here's something else we're talking about internally. Realtors and brokers. Every one of our clubs is somewhere between 30 to 50,000 square feet. That's making a giant impact in those brokerages and for real estate agents, commercial real estate agents that we're using. General contractors. Every one of our places has to be built out. The amount of time, money, the amount of trades that they have to bring in to make all of that happen. That ripple effect is enormous. Just in the next 3 to 4 years, we will have over 250,000 members of Pickleball Kingdom. Again, not employees, not guests, and not independent contractors and tradesmen who have worked on a Pickleball Kingdom. So it is humbling. And again, with all of this, I just have to say, because I wouldn't be honest if I didn't, it's a blessing. And I give glory to God because I'm smart and I work hard. I'm not this smart. I don't work this hard. It was a blessing that I was just obedient.
Well, what I love about that's an angle I didn't even think about. I was thinking about just employment, and the amount of lives impacted from that aspect, but I didn't even think about, the activity and weight loss and the exercise that, from just a health, it could be stress release only, could be weight loss. I mean, so many different elements that is impacting people.
I will tell you, Brad, that's the number one thing for me. Not even in physical health, because I'm in decent shape and I go to Lifetime to lift weights and get some cardio. It's the mental health. Whenever I play pickleball, it is literally good for my soul. I'm laughing. I'm having fun. Depending on who I'm playing with, I'm talking trash. It's like, I needed that. A bad day at pickleball is still a great day. You're still leaving with a smile. You're still laughing. So whenever I see you at Lifetime, I was like, okay, I got to go push some weights. I got to go on the elliptical. When I'm going to play pickleball, not once does it occur to me I'm working out. When I'm done, my sweat ring is down to my belly button. I mean, how great is that? I'm huffing and puffing on that elliptical. I'm like, am I done yet? What? 2 minutes? It's only 2 minutes long, and I feel like it's too long. So we have one of our core values. We believe pickleball is good for you physically, socially, and spiritually. I believe that with everything in me.
I love that, Ace. Well, what keeps you up at night now?
I would say helping our franchisees attain their dreams. We have the system. We have the roadmap. The bottom line to all of that is our Chandler Club. So it's happening. It continues to happen. We're giving the playbook and we're running alongside all our franchisees, but I want them to succeed as fast as possible. And it's the whole pickleball industry is like an elementary school playground, because everyone's young. The paddle manufacturers, balls, everybody is young because it kind of just really started. But we're like the 6 foot, 200 pound first grader. We're still a kid, but doggone it, we're the biggest kid on the playground, and we're going to get bigger. So all of our franchisees have either just opened their club, about to open, or are looking for real estate. I just want them to succeed as fast as possible.
Well, I love it, Ace. Well, you've been incredible. Appreciate your friendship, mentorship. I mean, just your passion really shows through. And what do you do for fun?
Play pickleball. I love working out. I keep myself in pretty decent shape because it's just I enjoy pushing weights. But between Tracy and I, for us, when we don't have anything to do, it's almost a bonus because we love a great dinner and we love going to movies. And maybe we're a little more old school. Of course, we got Netflix, all the streaming services, but I love sitting in a theater, maybe because I grew up with that. Smell of popcorn, the crowd laughing or screaming at the same time. I just love that.
It's incredible. Well, Ace, for those listening, how can they find you?
At pickleballkingdom.com. So you can go to our website if someone wants information about our whatever local club we have that you can go play at, do that. You got business people here. Someone's like, hey, making pickleball my business as well. Sounds pretty interesting. Would love to have a conversation with you. Go to pickleballkingdom.com, hit on the franchising tab, and there's a connection button for there. We'd love to start that conversation.
Well, Ace, you've been incredible. I think you've shared so much powerful information and wisdom to our audience. So thank you.
No sweat, but mutual admiration society here, Brad. I need to tell your audience, my wife has a degree in fashion merchandising. I go home, I put on Sports Center as background noise. She goes home and puts on HDTV or one of those shows. So that's her thing. And we've got a home that we're building, and she scoured and researched and did all these things. And that's how you and I met, because she picked you and your company because she said, it looks like they're the best. So I'm just telling your audience that you're really good at what you do, and I can attest to that as a customer of yours.
Well, you're the best. That's the best recommendation we could have. So thank you, Ace.
You're welcome.